a little bit about myself so you kind of know who I am and how this all started. I used to teach at Pima Community College down in Tucson, and I love teaching. And I got my master's while I was teaching there. And I did an okay job teaching. You know, I thought I was a pretty good teacher, but after I got my master's, I said, I really need to learn how to be a better educator. And I got this job at the University of Arizona as an instructional designer, and I went to a conference. And at this conference, it was EDUCAUSE. How many of you guys have been to EDUCAUSE? A couple. If you have a chance, go to EDUCAUSE. I would actually say go to ELI, which is the EDUCAUSE's learning initiative. That's a really good conference for educators. But when I was at the really big one, I ran into an educator from Purdue. And she introduced me to the Quality Matters rubric. And I really got excited about the rubric because it really taught me how to design actually my face-to-face course. It was actually for designing online courses, but there were a lot of principles in Quality Matters that helped me with my face-to-face course. And when I interviewed for my job, because I didn't have it at U of A yet, I went to my interview and they said, well, we're going to hire you as an instructional designer. And faculty are going to come in and they're going to have these big legal pads of all their content, and they're going to give it to you and they're going to say, make my online course. And I looked at these 3 deans that were hiring me and I said, I don't want this job. And that really got their attention. When you say in an interview you don't want a job, you know, they're like, oh, maybe we ought to look at her a little closer. And they asked me, well, what would you do? And I said, well, I'm more about teaching people how to do it than doing it for them. And they were like, oh, well, that's an interesting concept. You have a way of doing that. And I said, yeah, because I love teaching, and my favorite students are faculty, because they're the toughest students, right? If you ever taught faculty or have been in professional development, you know that faculty are the toughest nuts out there, right? And so I said, you know, I learned about this thing at EDUCAUSE called Quality Matters. And they kind of went, well, what's that? So I described it to them, kind of like I'm going to describe to you today Quality Matters. And at the end of the interview, they said, that sounds like a really good plan because guess what? It's scalable. And we all know that administrators like things that are scalable, right? Instead of just one person doing it, they want a collective doing it. So that's how I brought Quality Matters to the U of A about 5 years ago. And it's been really a grassroots process where I've kind of introduced it to faculty, and slowly but surely over the 5-year period, it's grown. We have over 100 faculty, staff, and some students who have been trained in the Quality Matters rubric. So I'm going to kind of go through this and tell you about it, but know that this can be a slow movement that kind of catches fire on your campus. I believe I talk about the statewide consortium, so I'll get to that in my presentation. But first of all, I just want to welcome you to the Quality Matters family. It's a great organization. It's really grown. When I first started, I guess 5 years ago, gosh, I think our first conference, our first national conference had 300 people. The last one was over 700. So we're really starting to grow not only nationally, but internationally. So it's starting to get very interesting about some of the things that are going on in the organization. So with that, let's see if I can work this. Let's talk a little bit about quality. So this is where you get to participate, right? So when discussing online courses, hybrid courses, or even face-to-face courses, who does quality matter to? Students, you guys are good. I gave you a hint. The booklets are going to come later. This is just a warm-up, okay? Okay, so, you know, don't get too excited. So F, what do you think F? Faculty, you guys are good. A, administration. U, the university. I should put a C there, right, for the college, because it's the colleges. AA. That's a good one. That's not what I have, but I like it. Academic advisors. Think bigger. Think those guys that come around and make sure you're doing your job. Yeah. Accreditation agencies. L. Well, it might be the library. I might have to go to my next slide to see. And T and TP. It's not tenure and promotion, but that's something that we're working on at the U of A. Let's go to the next slide. Oh, there we go. So these are all of the, I call them stakeholders, that really feel that quality is a major component, not only in online courses, but in hybrid courses and face-to-face courses. So, why do we want quality online courses? We want to improve student learning outcomes. So that's one. You'll notice that I will be reading my slides, and my slides don't have a lot of text on them, but I work very carefully with our DRC, which is our disability resource people, and they say that part of universal design, how many of you know what universal design is? Yay, we have some people who know that, is that you do read your slides. Now, the thing about that is you don't want to have a lot of words on there, right? So you don't want to have to read paragraphs. But you do want to read your slides. So that's something to think about as you're teaching. So we do want to improve student learning outcomes. We want to improve student retention, right? We want to keep our students in school and graduating. We want to prevent cheating. This is a huge thing at our university right now. And it not only happens online, it happens in the classroom. Everybody thinks, oh, online, everybody's going to cheat online. They've been cheating in the classroom for years. So it's something that we need to address not only as a modality, but just as a culture. Promote interest in the content. Get students excited about learning again. Sometimes I think they're not excited anymore. By the time they get to us, they're a little burnt out. And then promote lifelong learning. So that's to get them to stay engaged with learning the rest of their lives. Get them ready to be able to their next job, they learn. Why do they learn in their next job? So they can go on to the next job, so they can go on to that promotion. If they just stop learning, they're going to be stuck there for life. So all of this quality helps with these items. So this is when it gets a little hard. When it comes to online courses, how do we define quality? You know, I'm a qualitative researcher. I'm finishing my PhD, and I'm going into my field research this summer. And I totally agree with you on the international. I'm doing my research in Mexico, and I'm taking my 16-year-old son with me. So, you know, he's the brat, right? But defining quality is kind of hard. A lot of researchers like to do quantitative research. It's hard and it's edgy. It's got numbers. You know, they think it tells a story. And I'm like, with qualitative, it's soft, it's squishy. It's kind of hard to get your hands around, but there's a story there. And I think defining quality is that soft and squishy thing. It's kind of subjective to define quality. And Quality Matters has really gone at trying to define quality by having this rubric. But there's a lot of stories in there. So it's not only quantitative by assigning numbers, it's qualitative by there's a lot of examples of how we define quality in Quality Matters. The other ones are assessing quality, measuring quality, and evaluating quality. And this is what Quality Matters does with its rubric. So, what is Quality Matters? How many of you have heard of Quality Matters? Okay, so you kind of are somewhat familiar with it. It is a faculty-centered, and I think that's really important. I have to always, at the U of A, say, this is not an evaluation tool. This is not to be used for tenure and promotion. This is a review tool. It's a peer process, and it's designed to It's designed to certify the quality of online courses and online components. It is to help you be a better teacher. It's not to evaluate you. It is a set of tools. There are some standards for designing and reviewing online courses and blended courses. And this is what's really important about Quality Matters. It's continuous. It never ends. If you've ever taught an online course, you know every time you teach it, it changes a little bit. So it has to be a continuous process. It is centered around research, student learning, and quality. And I have to tell you, these Quality Matters people are research-based. Their research is really deep. Every 3 years, they have a new rubric. We're about to come out with a new rubric, which I have to tell you, this is the old rubric, but it's okay because it's not going to change too much. It'll change slightly, but this one will still be good. But they are constantly scanning the horizon of what's going on in the Institute with online learning, with hybrid learning, and now with professional development. They've also gone into the K-12 arena. So they're really branching out. But they have a whole team of researchers. That's what I really liked about this. Being at the U of A, I get quizzed a lot because it's a Research 1, and I work with a lot of scientists. And scientists like hard, edgy data, right? Quality Matters gives me that edge because I can cite sources, I can cite articles, I can cite studies that prove why this rubric, or how they came about validating this rubric. So that was one thing that was really kind of important to me at the University of Arizona. It is collegial, so it's faculty-driven. This is all about faculty. We do have some instructional designers that help out, but you cannot review a course unless you have taught a course in the past 18 months. So that means if you're not teaching, then you don't get to review. And I think that's really important because if you're not in the trenches, you don't know what it's like. It's also collaborative, and it's not competitive. It's something that peers do together to make themselves better. And believe it or not, you'll learn a lot from doing a review. Every time someone does a review, I just had a nursing faculty at U of A do a review for a nursing course at ASU. And she came back to me, and this is a pretty well-seasoned faculty at U of A who's been teaching nursing for years. And she came back and she goes, I can't believe what they're doing up there. This is great. I'm going to implement some of the things that they're doing in this course. I call it R&D, rip off and duplicate. So that's one good thing about being a reviewer, and you're going to find out now that you're part of the Quality Matters collective, you can review not only here at your own college, you can review for people in the state, you can review nationwide, and you can even review internationally. So it kind of gives you, kind of broadens your horizons about what you can do with reviews for online courses and hybrid courses too. So what is it not? It's really not about the individual instructors. That's why I'm always saying this is not an evaluation tool. It is a design tool. It's about the course, okay? And I said it's not about faculty evaluation. It's not a pass-fail test. So you're going to see that there is some numbers that are assigned, but like I said, it's a continuous process, so you can just keep on making revisions until you hit that magic mark, but it's not really a pass-fail. And it's really not about creating the perfect course. You're going to get to their scoring, which is kind of crazy, but it's about hitting the rubric at an 85% mark. So this is a little history about Quality Matters, and this is all on their website. I'll go through this kind of fast. It began as a fund for the improvement of post-secondary education, so it was a FIPSE grant. I met the people who were on the original grant. They're still with Quality Matters, so that tells you something. They took, I think, 3 years to research and develop the first rubric. The project was developed as an instrument and a process through which a quality online course could be recognized by a community of peers in online learning. If you do go through a Quality Matters national review and you don't pass it, right, but you meet a certain standard, you get a Quality Matters stamp on your course. This used to be like 5 years ago, it'd be like, yeah, big deal. But now it's starting to be more recognized, even by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is starting to recognize Quality Matters. So it's starting to get some traction so that Quality Matters stamp does have some meaning now. And we talked about the project was research-based, collaborative, and peer-centered. The results is the project outcome was a rubric tool and a process for applying the rubric in peer reviews of online courses. So before I go on, does anyone have any questions about Quality Matters? No, you guys are a quiet audience, okay. So let me tell you a little bit about the statewide consortium and the University of Arizona. It happened about 4 years ago. Maricopa Community College is a series of 10 colleges, I believe, down in Phoenix. And they had a statewide consortium because it was cheaper for them. Because each of their colleges was a separate campus, and they had to pay a subscription for each one. So they decided to do this statewide consortium. So there's another guy at ASU and we found out about it, and we said, hey, that could save us some money. Saves us about $500 to $800 a year by being part of the statewide consortium. So we got ASU and U of A, and we also got NAU online. And so all of us are now part of this statewide. Pima Community College is also, and there's a couple other ones. I think Coconino just joined. So we're starting to really get a collective, and when we get a collective like that, that just gives us more reviewers. It gives us more of a pool to draw from when we're doing reviews. So the subscription entitles us to access the Quality Matters rubric. So, I didn't know if you guys were going to be members today, so I was like, can I give these out? Because these are the special little secret booklets, right? But I'm glad to hear that you're members, and I can now distribute them freely. It does give discounts to professional development. One thing I want to say about that, too, is we do offer training through the statewide consortium, and it's free. If you go through the online, I think it's about $250 per person. But every semester, we offer free training. It's an all-day training. All you have to do is get there. It is a face-to-face training, but it's a lot of fun. NAU, I think, is offering one today. I don't know what the date is. It was either the 12th or the 13th. And you can travel up to NAU and get face-to-face training. Come down to U of A or ASU. We all are licensed, certified trainers. So we would love to have you on our campus. We would love to have you attend one of our trainings. So that's another nice thing. It's not a discount. It's a free professional development. You can participate in the QM user group. We do have a web page that we're working on right now. We're going to list everybody that is Quality Matters certified. So that gives you your pool of people to choose from if you want to do a review that's statewide. There's a license to conduct, that was what I was talking about, that applying the rubric workshop. And we're licensed to conduct official course reviews. Now the ones that we do in state are free. That's why we have the statewide consortium. If you do the ones at the national level, it does cost. I think it's about $2,000 to have a course reviewed at the national level. But if you do it in state, it's free. So it's kind of a nice thing that we have going. Anybody have any questions? You guys good? So, did someone say professional development? Okay, so then we go, it's about 2 weeks, and the cost is about $150 to $200. And that does change. They keep on going up with everything. So this is how a review works. So you usually start with a course, and it's usually work with the faculty developers working with instructional designers. And then it goes through a peer review, and that's with another faculty, and it's usually a team of 3 people that review your course. And then you get feedback. And you get feedback off of this rubric. And then you can do revisions if necessary. And then it goes back to the master reviewer, and the master reviewer reviews it. And if it meets the expectations, then it can get the official Quality Matters stamp. We are working on a Arizona statewide consortium stamp. So those ones that we do free in state, we're going to have some kind of little stamp on. We'll see. We'll see how Quality Matters, because we're kind of taking away their money, but it's kind of expensive to do it at that national level. So, factors are reviewed in the process. This is really important. Quality Matters, and I'm probably going to say this again and again and again, Quality Matters is not about the facilitation of the course. It's not about teaching. It is about course design. There was a reason Quality Matters didn't want to get into that. It's a can of worms, because everybody has a different teaching style. Everybody's going to do things a little different. And remember that soft and squishy? It's really kind of hard to get into that teacher evaluation. This is really about course design. It doesn't review for the course delivery, the faculty performance. It doesn't review for the content or the course management system or the university infrastructure, although you're going to see there are some standards in there that they talk about that. It doesn't review whether the faculty has been trained or whether they're ready to teach an online course. And it doesn't review whether students are engaged or whether they're ready to take an online course. This is strictly about design. That's why it's an instructional designer's dream, because it really goes after course design. Okay, The purpose of the Quality Matters Review, you must score more than average, more than, and be good enough. So you got to hit like that 85% on the rubric that does have some points on it. You must make an attempt to capture what is expected as an effective online course. And the score is based upon the Quality Matters rubric, which is based on research and widely accepted standards, or what I call practices in design. So now we're going to start working, okay? So I want you to get your thinking caps on. Before you do, I'm going to go over the 8 general standards. So there's 8 standards that go into the rubric. Underneath those standards are all of the, I guess, points that you're supposed to hit, right? And that's where I'm going to get you thinking. So the 8 general standards I'm going to review just quickly. The first one is overall design of the course is clear. Okay, think about that. The overall design of the course is clear. That means I can find my way around. I don't know if you've ever been to the U of A campus, but there's this horrible building called Harville. And no one can ever find it. And no students can ever find their class in there. Well, at least they can ask people as they're walking around campus, where's Harville? Where's this class? Think about going into an online course, and you don't have anybody to ask, and you don't have any direction, and you're just lost in Harville, basically. So that's kind of what that overall design of the course is clear. Learning objectives are clearly stated and explained, okay? Learning objectives, most people know what that is, but at U of A, sometimes I have to explain it to researchers. Basically, it's what you want your students to know at the end of the course, right? Make sure that's very transparent. And in doing that, make sure it's in a language that students understand at the beginning of the course, not at the end of the course. That's where we get into trouble at the U of A. Because we have these scientists that come in and they have these beautiful learning objectives, and the students don't know what they're talking about because they haven't been through the course. They don't have the vocabulary yet. Assessment strategies and measures are well integrated. And another problem we have kind of at the U of A with assessment strategies, we're going to talk about something in Quality Matters called alignment. How many of you are familiar with backwards design? Some of you are. So backwards design, you would start with your assessment, work with your activities, then create your learning outcomes so that you're working kind of backwards. And that's to make sure you're in alignment. And I have to say, when I was teaching at Pima Community College, I really was in need of a chiropractor because I was really out of alignment. What I found out that with some of my assessments, I wasn't having activities for, and I really wasn't teaching. So this is something that, you know, as an educator, you really need to get your head around. Instructional materials and resources are sufficiently comprehensive. Goes back to alignment. Make sure that all of your materials are going to help the students complete that assessment at the end. Meaningful interactions. That means that you're engaging the student, not only with you, but with other students and with the content. So these are all things you need to think about as engaging, especially in the online environment. Navigation and technology are intuitive. That's an oxymoron, isn't it? I think technology is never intuitive, but we can give a shot at that. Support provided for student success. And this gets into the institution a little bit. And also accessibility. Accessibility, I want to talk at, yes, we have to meet certain standards for government, you know, regulations. But when I talk about accessibility, I really want to talk more about universal design for learning. And that's where you really need to work with your Disability Resource Center. And I work very closely with mine on campus, and they have been my savior. So I really, you know, promote working with those people to make sure that all of your content is accessible. And let me give you an example of universal design for learning. How many of you have heard of that term? A couple of you have. So my first degree is in architecture, and I had to take a course about how to get around campus. It was, you know, looking at different ways of, and this was back in, I'm kind of old, so this was back in the 70s when I was in school. And we had to be in a wheelchair all day long. And it was hard getting around the ASU campus in the 70s in a wheelchair. It wasn't very accessible. What do you think was the biggest thing that happened, and you see it today, that's made it easier for wheelchairs to get around cities? Okay, they're the cutout ramps. Okay, and what has that also been good for? Texters, you're right, because they don't have to step off the curb anymore. You know what? I'm giving you a booklet for that one. You get. Just saying. So who else has that been good for? Bicycles, strollers, skateboarders. So that's a good thing to look at for universal design. It was designed originally for people on wheelchairs, but it ended up helping the whole population. So think about that as you're designing your online content. How can the closed caption? Guess what? That's not only good for people who need it, but it's also people who that's their learning style, is they would rather read it than listen to it. So that's why I read my slides also. Okay, so you guys ready? Here we go. So this is the first standard, and the course overview and introduction. Instructions make clear how to get started and where to find various course components. Another standard in that is students are introduced to the purpose and structure of the course. So I know you're at tables, and I want you to turn to somebody, pair up, find a friend, and I want you to come up with an idea for each one of these. Okay, so I'm going to give you like 2 minutes because we don't have a whole lot of time. We got 8 standards to go through. So be quick, and then I'm going to call on you. Okay, wind up your conversation. I'm really excited because we have 8 standards, and guess what? We have 8 tables. So that means I'm going to come around and pick on a table and see if someone's going to win the booklet, right? Because this is where you're going to win the booklet. So do I have a table that wants to volunteer that thinks they've got a really good one? Oh, we got a winner over here. Okay, let's see. I'm going to give you the mic so that you can, everybody can hear you.
I'm a teacher, I don't need a mic. Okay, instructions make clear how to get started. I have a button that says, start here. And it's what, where, and how. What, where, and how. Thank you. I share.
That's one of the best things you can do is a big button that says start here. It just tells the whole thing. Does anybody have anything to, students are introduced to the purpose and structure of the course? Anybody? Yeah, in the back. That's an excellent idea. And it's not only a good idea to do a video for this reason, but it also gives your online course kind of a human feel to it. How many times do students not even know what their faculty looks like? I have a lot of faculty that are like, I don't want to put my picture on there. I don't like doing videos. I don't like my voice. I'm like, then why are you standing up in front of a class speaking? Because that's what it is. There we go. So I think that's a great idea. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Learning objectives, and this gets into competencies. The learning course objectives describe outcomes that are measurable. Okay, you've got to be able to measure their learning. The module learning objectives describe outcomes that are measurable and consistent with the course level objectives. So I want you to think about this. I want you to talk to your neighbor about the difference between what's a course learning objective, a module learning objective, and how you would make them measurable. Go. Okay. Everybody come back around. I want to know, I was just talking with Todd, and Todd says he's a big storyteller, and I'm a big storyteller too. That's actually my research. If you ever want to look at my research, just come talk to me about it. I'm a PhD student. I'll talk your head off about my dissertation. So anyway, storytelling. Does anybody have a story that they want to tell, something that's actually happened to them or what they do in their classroom or in their course, dealing with outcomes that are measurable, either at the course level or the module level? Oh, I see a hand go up. I'm going to walk back. I'm going to give you the mic.
It does work, right? Okay. Business course, naturally qualitative. And to make these together, of course, the modules do add up to the course learning objectives. You end up writing. We know this. You know, we have certain deadlines to submit, refresh a course, get it ready for the 5-year rotations of being externally looked at. But how about in the course itself? 3 credit hours scream by at a roller coaster rate, and that's the faculty saying that. Something tells me the students might be too, who knows. But so you've got about 5 or 6 modules that will make the course. So those learning objectives will build onto the course ones. How did they do in the module learning objective? My questions, and I got them inherited from predecessors, like Joy D'Angelo, the question to the student is, give me an example of a SWOT TOES analysis for your experience. And sometimes they have to research if they're 19 and don't have that breadth of it. Sometimes they're 55 years old and they've been running an auto parts store here in the county for 17 years, didn't go under during the recession, so they've got plenty of experience to apply and to talk specifics. So if they plug together the theory for that module objective to their example, and I can see that it wasn't just shot at me 2 minutes before it disappeared off a blackboard, that in fact it looked like, yes, they've got that right, okay, good. Then I measure that they've made it.
That's a great example. There you go, you're a winner. Thank you. I want to kind of give a disaster story. It's my own, so I can give disaster stories that are my own. There's 2. I'm trying to think of which one I should give. I used to teach computer science, and I would have my students take computers apart and put them back together, right? That was one of my activities in class. And I thought I had all this wonderful activities for them to do. I thought I was teaching them really well. You know, I was like, this is great. Except when they came to class and I had, the room looked like it would have been destroyed. There were 10 computers with parts laying all around, like the computer fairy had been there the night before and destructed everything. So they had to, it was a game too. They had to go around and find the pieces, and then it was a competition and they had to put it all together. And what I found is students weren't really able to tell me the difference between what the RAM was and what the hard drive was. And I'm like, wow, we have a big disconnect here. Somewhere in my teaching practice, I wasn't teaching them what things looked like. I was telling them what things looked like, right? I was describing them, but some learners needed to see it, right? So I was assessing them by having all these pieces scattered all over the room, and they were walking in looking at their notes going, okay, it's got a little prong on it, and they didn't connect, right? So I had to change my teaching practice to actually have those pieces before the assessment, pass them around, have them hold them, have them feel them before they actually came into the classroom where the computer fairy had destroyed computers and they had to put them all back together, which is really a fun assessment because it was a competition and the students really got into it. But that's kind of, I found out that I was really out of alignment. So that's kind of my disaster story there. Okay, let's go to the next one. Let's see, oh, I went the wrong way. How about that one? There we go. Okay, all learning objectives are stated clearly and written from the student's perspective. Hard to do when you're really entrenched into a discipline that you know really well. And you think, doesn't everybody know this? Doesn't everybody know what a RAM chip looks like? You just don't think that way. Instructions to students on how to meet the learning objectives are adequate and clearly stated. In online courses, you have to be so transparent about this. In face-to-face courses, you kind of go with the flow. You can kind of read from the faces. You can see what's going on. In the online courses, you can't. So you got to be really transparent and communicate to students. And the learning objectives are appropriately designed for the level of the course. Wow. We're teaching something at the 100 level that really is at the 300 level. Okay, so that's something to think about too. So again, how would you do this? Think about one of these, get a story prepared, and see if you can win a booklet. So go. Okay, let's come on back. Does anybody have a story to tell? And I want a table that hasn't volunteered. Oh, we have up here. Uh-oh. Here we go. Let's give her our undivided attention here.
I'm telling Sarah's story, and she. So we're with the Student Support Services program, and many of our students have never been to college before, really don't have computer skills, really don't have computer skills, and yet we do our orientation on a Blackboard site. Sometimes you literally have to stand behind them and say, okay, press this button right now. Let's make sure that you have headphones or speakers. And the story where she went is she works with tutors, and sometimes when you're teaching students or tutoring them, think of it like teaching somebody who has never seen chapstick before how to put on chapstick. Everything from buying it, opening the package, getting the cap off. There's a lot of little steps that go with it. So just understanding that many of our students don't even have the computer skills.
That's good. I'm going to give you both one because that's your story. So bad. Thank you.
I just wanted to build on that a little bit, and I'm taking classes at the U of A. I just came off an ethics class, and online, and Don Fallis. Yeah, and he's exceptional because everything he does is about feedback. And he gives us these areas where, you can do your discussion posts, and some are main questions about the class. Here are questions that have nothing to do with the class, and you just want to rant, which is, it's very beneficial, and everybody answers those questions. So when you say from the student's perspective, anybody can go in and if they've got the answer, they can help another student out, or the instructor comes in. So it's a collaborative effort, and he really, he was very focused on developing that in the classroom. And so I would say that when you're talking about feedback, the why is so important. It's like, yes, you're going to teach them about chapstick. Why do they want that chapstick? Why do they want to put that chapstick on? So I would say that's a huge part of the feedback process.
I think that's a really good point, and it's something that, I don't know, everybody uses the word pedagogy, and I really think we're at the stage where we should talk about andragogy. You're not, yay, I have some supporters, woohoo! And andragogy gets to that question of why am I learning this? And I taught CIS 100, and I have a bunch of freshmen in there, 18-year-olds, and I would be, why are you taking this course? Because it's required. I'm like, oh God. And I would be like, no, let's think about why, promoting lifelong learning. I would say, how about this? How many of you are going to buy a computer in your lifetime? Everybody would raise their hand. I'd say, okay, in this class, you're going to learn how to be a great consumer of computers. When you're done with this class, you're going to be able to go into Best Buy, and you're going to know more than that computer salesman. Oh, wow. Now I'm interested in learning because I'm just not here because it's required. I'm here because I'm actually going to apply that. I think that's a great application. Is he in philosophy or business? He's in the philosophy department. Those philosophers, they're always good at that, the whys of everything. So that doesn't surprise me. Okay, let's go on to the next one. We've got to move along here. Oop. Up. There we go. So the instructional material contribute to the achievement of stated course and module unit learning objectives, and the purpose, again, we're talking about that purpose of the instructional materials and how the materials are to be used for learning activities are clearly explained. Okay, turn to your partner. I'm only going to give you about 2 minutes this time. So a table that hasn't been selected, I'm going to come pick on you. So come up with a good story. Go. Okay, we've got a winner here.
All right, I teach English 101 and 102, and we talked about storytelling. So when I tell my class online that they have to create a working bibliography before they really get involved with the deep reading, I explain it like baking cookies. It's much more efficient to put all of your ingredients out on the counter and then start mixing the cookies than it is to go get one ingredient, put it in the bowl, take that ingredient back and go get another one. Then if you want to make some changes to your cookie recipe, once you've got all the basics mixed in, then you can go back and get another almond extract instead of vanilla. So I try to relate doing that working bibliography to cookies.
Oh, great example. Great example. Here you go. Can you talk with my son? Because he's in English 101 right now, and I just had to talk to him about a bibliography. He goes, what's that? I'm like, oh, God. He actually knew, but, I like to tease him. Okay, so that was a really good one. Let's go on for the sake of time. Learning activities. Now, learning activities promote the achievement of the stated learning objectives. Learning activities provide opportunities for interaction that support active learning. We're really all over this at the U of A right now. We're trying to get those lecturers off the stage and get students talking, more like we're doing in here today, where we're doing active learning instead of just speaking. So think about how you can do that in an online course, okay? And the instructor's plan for classroom response time and feedback on assignments is clearly stated, no matter what it is. I'll get back to you within 2 weeks. At least tell them that it's going to be 2 weeks before you get back to them. I hope you're back to them a little sooner than that, but let them know so they don't have unrealistic expectations. We have a lot of students who think they text you and you're going to text them immediately back. And so we have to let them know what's going to happen. Okay, so go talk about that for about 5 minutes, and I'm going to come around and pick on somebody. Okay, we have a winner over here. I had to really poke around and find some people. Okay, here we go.
I really didn't think I had anything special, but we were talking about response time, and they asked how we got back with students. And Steve was saying that he likes to get back within 24 hours, and I was agreeing with him because nothing worse than having a stack that is a week late and you've got to get to it. But we were talking about testing, and one of the things we do in radiology is that we are testing online in the classroom. Even if it's an oral presentation, we have a rubric built so that while the student's doing the presentation, it's usually image analysis. We're grading the rubric as it's happening, and by the time they sit down, their grade's there and they're able to see comments. So that's what we do for response time. We try to get backlogged on assignments. That's one example.
That's good. So here, you're a winner. See, you're a winner of the table. Woohoo! So that was about response time. Does anybody have anything they want to share about learning activities? I have more booklets. Oh, we got one.
Well, one unique thing is I'm not faculty, I'm staff. But I have taken faculty's courses. And one of the faculty course that I took was in Photoshop. And what he did is he gave us a few websites to look at for an assignment. He gave us the objectives of the assignment, what he wanted us to do, but then said, go to these websites to see what I'm talking about, the type of genre that I want you to kind of not emulate or do or follow exactly, but this is the idea that I'm talking about. Then he would pick it apart with a video and show exactly how those parts and pieces made sense to his objectives, and then said, now I want you to create one with these objectives, and here's your end time that I want it turned in by. And that was great, because it gave me the chance to be interactive, to see it from his vantage point, but also to create something of my own, and I knew what time exactly I had in order to finish that project.
Wow, that's a great example. Thank you. Okay, we've got a couple more to go, and I think, are we almost done? Am I going to get cut off here? So we're going to fly through this one. You know, maybe we'll just talk about the next 3. So the tools and media support the learning course objectives. And that's, you know, I get a lot of things. Faculty come to me as an instructional designer, and they think I'm a media technologist, which I like shiny toys too. But they come to me and they go, oh, I want to use this shiny technology. I think this is really cool. I want to use it. And I'm like, yeah, but where's your pedagogy around it? You know, and they're like, oh, I didn't think about that. I just wanted to use the shiny toy. So I think this one is more around, do the tools and media support the course learning objectives? And it's not just a shiny toy I'm using because I think it's cool. Course tools and media support student engagement and guide the students to become an active learner. I think your example was right on with that. So we'll use that one for that. Navigation. This goes back to my earlier comment about trying to find your way around the course. This is a real pet peeve of mine. I know you guys use Blackboard. We use Desire to Learn. And learning management systems, to me, I'm kind of agnostic. I think they all have their great things. I think they all have their problems. It's just like kind of driving a car. You just have to find out where all the controls are so you know how to get around in it. And I really think it's important that students learn how to operate those controls. And so I think that's part of the navigation. And that Start Here button, too. 7, the course instructions articulate or link to a clear description of the technical support offered and how to access it. This gets to the institution supporting the online students. Is there a place students can call 24/7, ticket system or something if they don't know how to get to their course? A lot of times I know the people in the trenches are the faculty. They're the ones that do a lot of the technical support. But does your institution actually have technicians that can help them? Going back to your story with the people who are learning computers, my first class that I taught, 7 housewives that never touched computers before. And I said, okay, everybody grab their mouse and go up with it. Everybody went like this. I was like, oh no. So yeah, I've been in that thing where you're having really to explain, go up with your mouse, not up with your mouse, so. Okay, course instructions articulate or link to the institution's accessibility policies and services. And my thing on this is that is so important that it needs to be in 3 different places. I have a rule of 3 that I always tell faculty. If it's really important, put it in 3 different places in your online course. Put it in your news, put it in your syllabus, and put it somewhere else. Maybe in an email that you mail to the students before the beginning of the semester. Accessibility, being able to get resources like the DRC, Disabled Resource Center, it's one of those key things. If that falls through, it's devastating for the student. It's going to make them not feel good about themselves. You're not going to retain them. And it's just a bad overall thing. So put that 3 times. Okay. And last, accessibility. Again, this is how to obtain accommodations. And again, this is one of those things that I think needs to be 3 places. Email, news item, and on your syllabus, so that students can't come to you and say, I didn't know. Wow, it was in 3 places. Okay, so those are the 8 standards, and what we went through are the top 3. Now, you'll see that when, and I don't have time to get into this, so I'm just going to talk about this is the scaled down rubric. The rubric that I have in the booklets, there's actually 40 standards. It's a lot of standards, very overwhelming. The top standards for each area gets 3 points. On this page are the 3-pointers. And I have these down here. So if you didn't get a booklet, if you didn't get a shiny booklet, I'm sorry. Maybe you can come to a training and get a booklet. But for right now, you can have this, and this will give you the top 3 standards of the Quality Matters rubric. This is what I start with at U of A when I work with faculty. I don't bring out 40 standards. That would totally overwhelm a faculty. This, I believe, is 21 standards. And it's something that they can get their heads around pretty easily because a lot of these things, as you've noticed, are kind of common sense. Okay? So you're welcome to these. Okay. Do I have anything else? Am I going backwards? No. This is some of the stuff we do at the U of A, but I think that's the end. So this is some of the stuff we have at the U of A. We have a learning and teaching technology group where we kind of help faculty with online courses. Things are in flux at the university. Things are always in flux at the university, right? You have leadership changes. Things are always going crazy. So we're in the middle of a leadership change with our online initiative, and I'm part of that. So it's always moving. There's always earthquakes going on. So just know that you're not alone in that. I don't know what goes on at your college, but know that we're always moving, and we always talk to each other. We are big supporters. Quality Matters, when we get together, we get together as a consortium probably once a semester, and we meet at one of the 3 universities, and we talk, and we support each other. So again, I want to welcome you to the Quality Matters family. I do have my business cards up here if you're interested in contacting me. I am a researcher, so I do like to do research, so if you have any ideas, I'd love to hear them. And I thank you for inviting me today.